What's up, Nate?
How you doing, man?
Sorry about that. I got shit figured out now, so we're good to go.
That's all right.
Dude, big weekend, man. How you feeling?
Still in shock, to be honest with you. Um, just feeling really grateful, man. Really grateful.
Yeah, I imagine so. Because last year you kept it simple. You stayed home for the most part. You did whatever. You traveled a little bit, but to kick off the year with a big win like this is gonna be pretty exciting.
Yeah, man. I bought Panoptics this year, so winning this one will help kind of pay for that and help it make sense a little bit. So
That's what I keep telling my wife. Like, don't worry, I'm gonna buy now. I'm gonna win a big tournament, and I'll be able to pay this shit off later, right?
exactly. That's the time of life that we live in nowadays. So no, man,
Right.
I'm just like I said, just really grateful for having that opportunity from Bass Nation to be on one of the most infamous bass fishing lakes in the world, one of a lake that I dreamed about fishing as a little kid. So to go there and pick up a W like that was something special, especially against such a great field of 195 other anglers.
Right. Now, was this your first time fishing Lake Fork?
No, this is I've been there 4 times.
Four
So yeah,
times.
this was my fourth time down at Lake Fork.
Well, let's get into it. Like, how was it? When did you decide that you were going to do this tournament?
About a week prior to, I had actually planned on going to Broken Bow with my good friend Marty Hughes. He invited me to tag along with him down there. Work got extremely busy for me, so I wasn't able to make that happen. And then I had one of my good friends, James Francis. He's like, "Hey, I'm going down to Fork," and I said, "Well, I'll tell you what." I said, He's from he lives in Wyoming, so I said, "If you make it over to Omaha, we'll hop in my truck and we'll go down to that event together." So it was about a week prior to that I made the decision to go down there, and so he rolled into my place Wednesday. He was actually not supposed to get there until like 5 o'clock on Wednesday, so I was scheduled to work all day. We were just going to leave after I got off of work, but he sends me a text message at like 11, and he goes, "Hey, I'm here in town." He goes, "Whenever you're ready to roll, I'm ready to roll." So obviously, I went straight to my boss and I'm like, "Hey, can I get going? Because I'm ready to get down to Lake Fork and start fishing." So we left at about 1:30 on Wednesday. Got us there down to Fork on Thursday night at about midnight. So we had a day and a half to pre-fish is all. And I think that was it wasn't a lot of time compared to some other folks and how much time they got to spend on the water to pre-fish, but it was definitely important.
The pre-fishing. Um,
Yeah.
no, fishing number four. Like, does pre-fishing get easier for you? Like, like when you fish like a lake numerous of times. I mean, because you've already seen what the lake has to offer. I mean, granted, I know things can change from season to season.
Mhm.
But you've already covered a lot of water in the past. Does it make pre-fishing a little easier? Like, kind of give you an idea like where you want to go and what you want to do.
I mean, I think it kind of goes both ways, to be honest with you. You can really get hung up on some things that you've found before, right? And then some areas that maybe you've ruled out in the past. You can hang on to those as well. So I think it can kind of go both ways. For me, this instance, this tournament here, it did play a huge factor, knowing that I was familiar with Little Caney Creek. I had won an event there a couple of years ago, so I kind of knew the layout of the land a little bit, and that helped. As the fish were moving back to the back of the creeks. One thing that was crucial for me was thinking, okay, where can these fish pull up? Where can they rest at? And that was a huge part of this. Just being familiar with that creek.
Right. Now, let me, because Texas had that bad freezing not too long ago.
Hmm.
What's the? I mean, did it play an effect on like the fishery down there? Did the fish suffer a lot? Was it I mean, from what I hear, it was pretty bad. As far as like what that storm did. Has it affected the
Yeah.
fishing at all?
What I think it did is it lined up the absolute heat of the spawn to happen on this weekend.
Okay.
So had that front not come through, I feel like we would have been there at the back end of the spawn, and that would have made things extremely tough.
Right.
It played a huge contributing factor to everybody having an opportunity to crack their personal best. which is pretty cool. That's what everybody wants to go to Lake Fork for. So that weather that hit them a couple of weeks prior to, I think, helped us out, helped everybody out.
Yeah, I must say, like a lot of people, like it's been a while since I've seen like people crack on what they did this past
Mhm.
week, and like I saw a lot of people catching big fish,
Yeah.
life changing catches, things like that. Did you know something special was going to happen when you were pre fishing? Were you automatically catching them? Were you on it?
No, not at all,
No.
man. So, all the guide reports that everybody had access to was telling folks that, Birch, Running Creek, the Glades, and what's that other one up there? Um, oh man, I can't remember it now. Anyway, the northern half of the lake was gonna hit first, right? As far as the water temps reaching that primal temperature, and so we spent a lot of time, or most of our time, pre-fishing, checking out that area. Thursday, the full day, we bounced around to Running Creek. We went up to Birch. There was another one that we went up to, and all of those areas there, we were finding fish, but and we were getting them to explode on our frog topwater, but they wouldn't eat it. They wouldn't really engulf the frog, and I had only caught one fish on a frog, and so we knew that area was going to be heavily pressured. So after not really finding something that we were like able to rest our heads on and say like, yeah, we can win the tournament here. My buddy said, hey man, do you want to go check out Little Caney Creek, where you've been wanting to go? And I said, we at least got to go check it out. Um, but so we checked that Little Caney out, and same situation. We had some blowups on some frogs, but they just weren't eating it. Even bass boats were rolling around throwing buzz frogs on top of the water, and so everybody was trying to get that frog bite to go, I think. And so pre-fishing that Thursday morning, we got out to one of the points right across from the boat ramp there, when we were actually able to use the live scope, catch a few fish on a jerk bait, which was awesome. Super neat to see how those fish react to baits in the water. And aside from that, then we had gone down to one of the coves that I had fished during the tournament, and I had hooked into a 21 incher there. And so after that, we saw some fish up shallow, and I turned to my buddy and I said, "Man, we got to pull out of here." I was like, "This might be the spot." And so we did. We pulled out and we just kind of went browsing from there. And after that day of tournament or of pre-fishing, we both said, "Yep, let's put our eggs in this basket." We were riding together, so wherever we went, we wanted to launch together, and it happened to work out for us.
Yes. Now, the live scope. Tell me a little bit, because obviously there's the argument maybe that's too much. I don't really necessarily care. Like
Mhm.
I think that, like things like live scope are going to open things up in the future for because a lot more people are going to start going offshore fishing, and so it's gonna pull. I think it's gonna have like a weird balance of people who still want to fish shallow in the banks, and then you're gonna have an equal amount of number of people who want to go offshore. Where before, it's just like it can get rough fishing shallow. Um, because a lot of people were fishing shallow. So especially we talk about like pre-fishing and then tournament day. A lot of those fish get beat up, and now with the live scope and some of these other technologies, I think it's going to help kind of even out where people fish. Like it's going to be like
Sure.
people will continue to get better at offshore fishing, and then I think it's going to maybe help some of the guys who kind of like to stay shallow a little better, because there's going to be such you know a range of people fishing all over the place. Like, what's your whole thought
Yeah,
of the whole live scope and everything?
I agree with you, man. It could relieve some pressure, from those shallow water bites, and that people want to exploit during tournaments. For me, live scope goes two ways. You can either really catch them, or you can spend way too much time looking at that.
Right.
For example, tournament day. I started on that point where I thought I could pick up 5 good fish, or at least decent fish, to just get me started, and I would go upgrading from there. We pulled up there. I was marking fish on the live scope, and we had about 30 minutes until we were able to take our first cast, and I'm seeing fish swimming around everywhere. And I'm like, "Yep, I'll be able to pick up 5 right here." And tournament starts, taking casts, and for 30 minutes, didn't get a single bite. and I had to get going. So it could have been very easy to sit there and be like, nope, it looks like there's fish here. You just got to keep going and find what bait those fish want to eat right now. But it wasn't happening. So it can be a really good piece of technology and a great tool in the water, but it can also get you in trouble at sometimes too.
Yeah. Do you see like a serious advantage of someone using that over, you know what I mean? Like someone have, because there's always an argument. Like it's not fair. And I'm just thinking like I really don't see. Like yeah, there's gonna be there's always gonna be a little bit of advantage depending on what kind of fishing you want to do. But we've seen where people who don't even go out with fish finders go out there and win these big tournaments, and then you'll have someone with the best boat, the best electronics, and skunk. You know what I mean? I
Sure.
don't know. I mean, granted, it's a tool. Every tool has a purpose, and every tool can be useful. But I just don't really see it as like one of those like be all I'm not in a hurry to get a live scope. I don't feel like it's that. It's going to be that it's going to change things up for me dramatically where I really need to worry about, having something like that on my boat.
Yeah, no, you're right, man. I mean, one of the biggest tools that any angler has is time on the water, man. You spend enough time out there, and you get to learn. You learn the tendencies of bass, what they do, why they do it, and when they do it. And those are really important factors, And you can see a fish on a screen all day, but if you don't have the experience and the time on the water to know what to do in certain situations to get those fish to react and get them to bite for you, it's not going to do you any good. And so, like I said, I think it can go both ways. There's going to be times when live scope is the difference, and it's gonna put up a good bag for some guys. And there's going to be other times where those guys, including probably myself, that I spend way too much time looking at it, and it's going to hurt. So it's a great tool to have in your pocket to be able to utilize in the right situation. But for example, this past weekend, winning on Lake Fork, it played zero factor. I didn't use it at all to catch any of the fish that I caught.
Oh, cool. Well, let's go into like day one. Well, there's only one day with bass.
Sure.
Let me ask you this: how do you feel? And like, I don't think anyone's better than other. And I love variety, but what do you
Mm-hmm.
prefer? Like a 2-day style like Hobie event, or like a single day like what Bass and like kind of what KBF are doing? Like me personally, I like the single day, but
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that has to do with like the kind of like I haven't gotten to the point where I feel comfortable holding on for 2 days. Fishing against
Yeah.
the best of the best, and like and not only like some of the things that you have to that I think you got to know when like you got a good spot. And you got to plan for the next day, I'm sort of thinking of what you were saying, how you pulled off that creek because you thought that was a spot. But you got to be careful if you're doing a
Mm-hmm.
2-day thing because you want to win, but you also realize that you got to win 2 days. You can't just win on day one. And so a lot of times, like it's a different type of tournament. It's gonna cause like different type of strategies. And right now where I'm at, like the one day is good, and but I understand like like why some anglers really do prefer the 2 days, and
Mm-hmm.
But what's your thought? What do you like to do with it? Like to do best?
I mean, I would always prefer a 1 day event, just because you can go out there and just hammer them, and not have to worry about that kind of stuff. Am I going to be able to preserve these fish if I just go and get one more out of there? What difference is that going to play? But the 2 day events are challenging, man. Those are really tough. And I'll be honest with you, if this was a two-day event, man, there is some absolutely fantastic anglers in that lineup of anglers that were fishing this weekend. And I can't say that I would have been able to hold on for 2 days. I mean, you saw how tight this race was. It was a matter of a one bite difference that could have changed the entire top 20, top 30. So those 2 day events are really challenging. They're very hard, and I think it's a great setup for people to really hone in on some skills and some strategy. Whereas the 1 day events that's what made Lake Fork this past weekend an absolute slugfest, is that everybody got to go out there and just give it their best shot over 1 day, like I said, this been a 2 day event, I think things would have looked a lot different.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, like some guys, they shine on day two. And you'll see them
Mm-hmm.
do it. They'll get their asses kicked day one, and you'll have the guy sitting at the top, and he's confident. And then day two, you'll have someone from like ninth place. He had a day to figure it out, an extra day to figure it out, and then come day two, he's on it. And
Yeah.
it just it's got to be it doesn't pay well to be like number one on day one. You know what I mean? Because day
Yeah.
two is gonna
You got
Day
a lot of
two is gonna.
pressure on you. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And like I said, some of the anglers that were in this event, you give them 2 days, who've got a lot of
yeah,
time and a lot of knowledge on that lake, to be able to say, I would imagine that some of those guys would have said, hey, I caught him here on day one, and for day two, I've got another spot, that I can go
right,
to. And so, like I said, man, this could have all looked a lot different.
yeah. Well, cool. Let's talk about tournament day. What were you feeling like? Did you have things figured out? Was there anything like specific that you wanted, like that you planned on doing that day?
I honestly had nothing figured out. Like I didn't have any confidence going into it that I would be able to even crack in the top 10. To be honest with you, I was just working to hopefully be in the top 30, put up a decent limit, and be able to earn my entry fee back. So kind of how my day went. Started out, I went straight across from the boat ramp, sat on that point, used the live scope. Like I said, didn't get a single bite. 30 minutes went by, and I said, "This isn't going to do it." So I took off and headed back, toward the back of the creek. And during pre-fishing, I had caught a 21 incher in a small little cut that I caught on a bladed jig. So I went back in there. First cast in there, I had a Texas rigged plastic, weightless, with a little craw in there. It was like a brown and a chartreuse color, and I threw that in there and caught a fish that was 12 inches long. Put it on the board, took my photo, released it, and I went to look at my photo, and I didn't have the identifier in it. So that one was automatically out of there, and so that's upsetting. But I knew what Lake Fork was gonna do that day, and I was like, well, that one wasn't gonna cut it anyway. But it would have been
Right,
nice to have just to start getting a limit going, right?
right.
And so with the bass being in the spawn phase, in all different phases of the spawn, let me add, I wondered if that 21-inch fish that I had caught the day before might still be there. So I had caught that on a bladed jig the day before, so I said I want to give it a different presentation. So I threw in that weightless Texas rig, tossed it in there, started reeling it in across the top of the water. Now, the reason I did that was because, like I said, there was so much talk about the frog bite and how the bass were hitting it, but they weren't eating it. So I thought, what can I do that's a little bit more finesse, that might entice that bite a little bit more, which is why I started to skim that thing across the top of the water. And why I used a craw is it had the two little legs on the back, kind of, and that would kick up just a little bit of water to get their attention. So I casted that up there and reeled it, saw the wake come behind the bait, and it startled me, to be honest with you. Like, I just didn't expect it. I mean, it was a big old wake. Killed it, set the hook on it, and it broke off.
Okay.
So my first two fish like that, I'll be honest, it was defeating. It deflated my. I'm like, shoot, man, that was a big fish right there, and I could have really used that. So anyway, so I pull out of there and I go down to the next cut, and I had seen that there was a fish moving up there the day prior. You could see it waking around, and I didn't even cast at it the day before. I was like, this could be an area that really holds some fish. So I went there and casted back up in there. Did the same thing with that Texas rig weightless plastic. Reeled it across the top of the water. Saw a huge wake, and this time I was like, well, I killed it last time by pure startlement, right? So I killed it. That bass ate, and that was a 19 and a half. And as I've got that fish on the board and I just get done taking my photo and go to submit it, realize I don't have service. So I put my phone down, and as I look up, I see another bass about 10 yards to the left moving on some bait fish in there. So I cast that Texas rig plastic up in there. I mean, this is minutes after I just caught that 19 and a half. And sure enough, see another wake, kill the bait, 21 and a quarter. I get that one in, measure it, let it go. A few minutes goes by. I see another bass about 10 yards down doing the same thing. Cast up in there, and that's a 16.75. At that point, then I'm like, well, I'm gonna go back up to that creek where I just lost that 21. Maybe I can get it to bite again. When I looked at my line after I had lost that fish, it wasn't a clean cut. It looked like my line had, like, my knot had come undone. Right. So I was like, maybe I didn't get a hook in that fish, and she'll still bite. She'll still be protecting her area. So I come out and I get to about the mouth of the cove that I just caught those 3 fish in. And I said, and I'm thinking to myself, when I won here a couple of years ago, I left my area and I didn't catch anything else. I said, Nate, what are you doing, man? Turn around and get right back over there and see if you can't catch another one. So
Right.
I come back over there, and I thought that, when I was sitting there, that I had seen a bass moving in some weeds. So I was like, I'm just going to tie on this bladed jig by Mr. B Lure Company that he was so gracious to put together an order for me right before I came down. And I'm so glad that he did, and so thankful. I threw that thing up there right along the weed edge line. And, this time I didn't see a wake. I mean, I was in about 3 foot of water on this one. And it just stopped my bait. My drag was cinched all the way down. If I would have pulled on my line, no line was coming out. And this bass just was taking line. And there was a bass boat that wasn't far from me. And he goes, I think you hooked into a gator. And I said, no, man. I said, I think this is the biggest bass of my life. And I think if I can get this in, it might win me the tournament. And I just kept saying that. I was like, if I can get this in, it'll win the tournament. And I don't see the fish until it is right next to my boat, and I see it coming up out of the water, and I just see the mouth on this thing. Reach for my
Dude, I'm
net,
getting all
get it.
excited. I'm getting it right now just listening to this story. Like,
Dude, it
it's
was the most incredible thing ever, man. I mean, I have been cursed for the last 4 years trying to break my personal best that has come from a lake 5 minutes from my home here in Nebraska. I've been all over the country traveling to some of these tournaments. And you expect to, I've been down to Fork, 3 other times before this. I expected to hit my PB, and for that not to have ever happened and to happen, in this event here was just awesome, man. Super awesome. Anyway, so I get that fish in. That gives me my 4th fish. That's 22 and a half inches. I asked that bass boat, I was like, hey man, this is my PB. I was like, do you have a scale? Can you weigh this for me? So he weighed that for me at 7.71 pounds, which is just an awesome fish. What you come to Lake Fork for. So that gives me my 4th fish. And so I was like, hey man, you guys can go fish that area if you want to. I'm gonna go up to this creek up here where I just lost another fish. I was like, I need one more to get this job done. And so I go up there, and there's another kayaker in the back, where basically sitting right on top of where I had lost that 21-inch fish. So that kind of bummed me out, but I picked up my Texas rig plastic, threw it up in there, and this time I didn't run it across the water, targeting anything specific like I had, with my other fish. I just cast it up in there, ran it across the top, and just killed it randomly. And as I killed it, sat there for a second, and I just felt the tick, set the hook, and that was my 18-incher. And that was it. To be honest with you, man, that was my 5th fish, and it was a grind from there on out, trying to get any other bites. I didn't have any other bites until there's about an hour left of the tournament, and I thought, I was like, this isn't 98 inches isn't going to be good enough. There's some wonder. You've got Russ Snyders, you've got Christine, who had been on fish, you've got Guillermo, who is an absolute legend on that lake. You got Scotch. I mean, all of these wonderful, wonderful anglers. Also, Roger College from Colorado. He had hit 102.75 inches the day before. And so I'm thinking to myself, man, there's no way that this is good enough for maybe a top 10, but this isn't going to win the event. So I'm like, I got to do something different. I got to figure something out that nobody else is doing right now, that is going to be, holding a fish that can maybe just give me an upgrade. So with about an hour left, I start heading back toward the boat ramp to the point that I had caught fish on pre-fishing. And I'm going, and I hear a kayaker behind me, and I turn around, and it's Guillermo. And I said, oh, hey, what's up, man? And he goes, hey, he's like, are you sacking them up today? And I said, I've got five fish, and it's 98 inches. And I said, how are you doing? He goes, I've got some pretty good ones as well. And I said, but I don't think 98 inches is going to be good enough. And he goes, nope, you're right, it's not. He said, it's going to take over 100. And he goes, but I think, he's like, I believe it's going to be one here in Little Caney Creek. And it's about that time that he takes off across the other lake, or the other side of the lake. And so I go to the point, and I've got my bladed jig, and I'm tossing it out there. And I kid you not, man, I am saying over and over and over out loud, there's 15 minutes to go by this time. And I'm saying, like, come on, Lake Fork, give me one more. I know you've got it. Just give me one more bass. Like, just please, just one more bass. So I sling my bladed jig out there one more time, and I'm just slow rolling it on the bottom. My fish finder is dead at this point. I have no idea what depth I'm in. I just know that there's some standing timber here. I'm on a point. If some fish are moving back, they might stop here. So I'm reeling in, and I get bit. And so at this point, I'm like, man, this could be it. Even if it's a 17 and a half, or an 18, this will help,
Right.
My smallest fish on my cart at this time was a 16.75. So I set the hook, I'm reeling this one in, and inside, I'm just so excited that I had gotten another bite. It had been tough. I hadn't gotten another bite since, 9 something that morning. Get the fish in, put it on the board, and it's a 16.75. And so at that point, I'm like, well, man, you did what you could. You tried your hardest. And that was the end of the tournament. So get back to the ramp, and I talk with my partner, James Francis, and I'm like, hey, man, I got 98 inches. I don't think it's going to be good enough. And he goes, the last time I checked the leaderboard, somebody had like 96 something. He goes, you might have it. And I said, yeah. I said, James, I said, there's been some guys that probably don't have service, they
Right.
haven't even had a chance to upload their fish yet. I said, somebody's coming in with over 100 inches. And just super, super grateful, man.
I bet you're nervous. Were you nervous at the weigh-ins or
Oh yeah.
the
Yeah.
whatever?
Yeah. So they had told us that they were going to send us a text if you were in the top 3. And so we're at the little Caney boat ramp, and we're loaded up. And I told my buddy, I said, I'm ready to go home. I said, but I don't know, I was like, I guess we'll wait. And I said, should we just kind of start heading toward the marina? I said, it's kind of on our way, as we head back toward Nebraska. And he's like, yeah, let's just head that way. So we get to the marina, and a couple other guys, Chris Longshore and Ricky Valadez from Nebraska, who we stayed with. Huge shout out to Chris Longshore for inviting James and I to stay with him. He let us stay at his house for absolutely free. So super thankful for that. Thank you, Chris. But so we get to the restaurant there, and those guys are grabbing some food, and the waitress comes over and she's like, "Do you want anything?" And it's like, "I'll take a soda," but I was like, "I can't eat right now." So I've got my soda in my hand, and I think it was either Chris or Rick, and they're like, "Dude, you're shaking." And I was like, "Yeah, man." I was like, "I don't know what's gonna happen." Um,
Hmm.
and so I didn't know until they handed me the trophy that I had won the tournament. I sat next to the guys, and it was you know how you kind of get like a tunnel vision type
Right.
thing. That's how I was. It was just like everything around me was a blur, and I was just thinking to myself, how in the world did you get yourself in this position again? Against a class of 195 of the best guys.
Yeah.
And not only that, but on a Bass Nation event. That's
Yeah.
when I was a little boy, man. I used to watch videos of those guys on that Bassmaster series, and you dream of that,
Right.
you know. So it was like I said, I'm extremely grateful.
Yeah, dude, it's huge. I mean, I
Yeah,
mean, like you said, like, but it's also the lake you won on. You know what I mean? That's a big lake, big fish, big, like just a big opportunity. And you were going against some of the best anglers in the world, and
yeah,
that's the lake to show up out, and that's the lake that you want, like, to kind of put on your list of a place that where you have accomplished something that
yeah,
big. I mean, that's a big lake. That's a big like it's people. It's every year.
yeah,
It's on the maps for some people. So, dude, I
yeah,
mean, what can I say? I know you're emotional right now, but I mean, you have every right to be. I mean, like we've talked before, this fishing stuff isn't easy.
no,
The time away from family, the time we got to take off from work. Like when we do these things, a lot goes into it. And
hmm,
dude, I'm happy. I'm so happy for you because I know that this makes things. It makes things easier when you bring something home like this to your wife and your kids, and it's like
hmm,
like you feel like you didn't just take from them or whatever like that. You feel like you went down there, you accomplished something, and I don't know. I just feel like it makes life just that much better when like you can see
hmm.
like the fruits of your labor, and it just wasn't like a wasted trip or or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I was really stressed actually the 2 weeks leading up to the event. trying to get my fish finder on my kayak. I'm not the best at rigging stuff up,
Oh, you saw
So
my Instagram. So I'm
no, I
struggling
haven't.
right now. Yeah, I got a new kayak, and I was in it. I was in
Okay.
it last night. I was rigging it, and
Yeah.
I posted like I hate. And some people love it. Some people love to go out there and with all their little tools and start
Yeah.
working. Like I hate it, dude. I'm like underneath my kayak. I'm losing screws and nuts. Nothing's fitting right. Nothing's
Yeah.
working right, and like it just I hate working on my kayak.
Yeah. So I was stressed with that. Work's been stressful as well. We right before this tournament, the weather turned on us and got real nice. So I've been busy with work and then you start to do the preparation for the tournament. And there's a ton of preparation that goes into that. I think we all as anglers don't really understand how much work we put into that kind of stuff. And so when you put that work in and you've got all that stress, combined, and you're able to come away with a win against, some impressive anglers, and all of that kind of pays off is it's a special thing, man. And like I said, man, this win was completely unexpected. I went down to this event just hoping to crack my PB, and not only was I able to do that, but I came away with a win, and that is so humbling to be back there for the first time since my win in 2018, and to do it again like that against more anglers was a super awesome moment, man.
Well, cool, man. I know you got to go back to work, so we'll make this short. But you know, you won early. I mean, you got a win in your belt early in the season. What are you thinking for the rest of 2021? What are some of the things you want to do and accomplish?
Yeah,
Realistic, like, the realistic goals you have, because I know you're like me. Like it's all based off of our family and our work. So, like,
yeah.
realistically, what do you see going on for you this year?
Yeah, so like when I first started kayak fishing, my dream was always to go to Lake Fork, when the tournament of champions there, go to Hobie Worlds, and then Bass
Right.
came out with their stuff. I've always wanted to win an event with them, so I've had the opportunity to do that. But I really want to win on lacrosse. I don't know why it is that I've got this like special place in my heart for that river system. But I want to win up there, and I know that BASS has got an event up there. Hobie's got an event up there, so I'll be at both of those events trying to make something happen. At one of those events, the All American Series that Joshua Booth has got going for us here in the Midwest this year. I think is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for everybody located in the Midwest. I hope to see everybody out there at those events. I know that I'm going to try to make every single one of those and chase that title because that's going to be a feat in itself. So between those events there, that's kind of what I'm focusing on. As far as traveling goes, we've got two great clubs here in Nebraska, the Sticks and Central States Kayak Anglers. Both of those clubs have got some awesome schedules out. That's going to allow me to stay close to home, be close with family and work and all that kind of stuff. So definitely take advantage of those. So it's going to be a busy season, and I'm looking forward to it. And so, like I said, just super excited, super thankful for this one to get underneath the belt for the year and to start things off on a really really positive note.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, hope I see you in lacrosse. I'm definitely doing the Hobie
Good.
event there. So
Good. That's
yeah,
going to be
that's
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be
Hobie
fun.
puts on a wonderful event out there, man. They did an awesome job there last year. AJ does a wonderful job with all of his events. That one was awesome event last year. So, for me, I've done well on some lakes, and I've never really done well on a river system. So, to get up there and figure out the mighty Mississippi, that's going to be a grind. So I'm prepared for the worst, and prepared to battle it out there, with everybody. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing you out there and fish against you. I don't think we've had that opportunity to do that yet. So
Not yet, not yet.
I'm looking forward to that, man. That's going to be sweet.
Well, cool, man. I'll let you get back to work. Who do you want to thank, man, or who do you want to some shout outs, plugs, whatever you want to do? But this is your turn to kind of get back and talk about the people that made fishing easier for you.
Yeah, sure. Elmore Rods, Kelly Moe, man, he has built all of my rods that have had some great performances on them, and he's believed in me. He just an awesome guy, great friend of mine, great brother. Appreciate Mr. B. Lures Company. That guy worked his tail off the week before to get me all the baits that I needed, and he put in that bladed jig that got me the big fish that really catapulted me to the top there. Really like to thank my family, all of my family. They've all been such great supporters. You lose so much time with family, chasing these tournaments, and so super thankful for them. And my buddy James for encouraging me down there. He told me, he came up behind me as I had my 5 fish, and he just said, "Man, just keep going, don't stop, just keep working hard." And just everybody that has reached out here lately, you guys are just awesome. Really appreciate that support. I've got a great circle of friends that know the type of a person that I am, know the hard work ethic that I have, and the passion that I have for fishing. I fought through some adversity throughout my time in kayak fishing, and it hasn't always been easy. But I'll tell you that every one of these, moments, whether I do well or don't do well, it's always been worth it. So, it's been an awesome experience.
Well, cool, man. I'll just get back to work, dude. I'm happy for you. Congratulations, and good luck with the rest of the year.
Thanks, man. I certainly appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care.